Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Tutorpreneurs. My name is Vivek Rajarampatkar. I am the founder and director of Edu-Master Tutoring Services. This interview series is very special because we host some bright tutoring minds who have done it really big. So today, it's my honor to invite Jody here on our platform, who is very talented and a very supportive tutor. So welcome, Jody, to Tutorpreneurs.
Thank you. Thank you, Vivek.
Can you
So,
please tell us who you are and how has been your journey till now in tutoring?
okay, well, sure. I'm Jody Bryant. I'm from the United States, a town called Mankato. Um, I actually started this tutoring journey because I was laid off of my normal teaching job. It was 2009, and the economy was kind of just tanking, and so there were a lot of cuts in the world of education. So I was going to my master's degree. I just continued with my master's degree, and that was totally online. So I really enjoyed teaching or learning online. When I was done with my master's, it was in December, so the job openings were kind of few and far between. So I started looking to find an online teaching job. And I worked for one of the larger companies. It wasn't the best experience in the world, but it opened my eyes to see how I could be an online tutor. And every experience that you have, whether it's positive or negative, you learn something from it. And so I learned a lot about some of the customer service parts of being an online tutor from that first experience. And then I went and I found several other jobs that just weren't really 100% the right fit, because I do have the master's degree and I do have the education background. And now I just work for three very, very small companies, and I teach content area classes. So that's been a better fit for me, as opposed to teaching what I just call is the conversational English classes. So I'm teaching more academic English classes now.
Awesome. It has been a rough journey and a very learning process as well. So, when you started your tutoring journey, what was exactly going on in your mind? That this is something that I want to do. What was exactly there?
Well, it was kind of like this was a convenient job for me when I first started. It was convenient. I could just work at home. I still had a daughter that was going through, she was just in elementary school at the time. So then I could, be at home. And I did substitute teach as well. It wasn't my primary full-time job, so I had another job. But I get up really early in the morning and teach. And I guess what was going through my mind was I need to learn this industry. And that's pretty much what I did for a few years. I would find a job and then I would say, oh, this isn't really working out the way I wanted it to do. And sometimes there was the language barrier, so you couldn't really understand 100% what the expectations were. So that kind of led me to move from these larger companies where the communication is somewhat, institutionalized. It's very, very, it's like everybody's the same with some of these companies. So it led me to working with smaller companies. And so what really was in my mind was, this is not for me to work for. I didn't want to be a number. Some of the companies have over 90,000 teachers or 100,000 teachers. And that I went from working for a company that had 90,000 teachers to a company that had 10,000 teachers. And then now I just work for companies that have less than 100 teachers, because I want a relationship with the people that I work with.
That's actually an awesome thought. Well, I do own a company with 10 teachers.
Hey, there you go.
It,
So you probably know the importance of forming a strong relationship with them.
yep, it's very, very important to maintain the quality. And as you already said that from 90,000, even it's not going to matter if one person increases or decreases. It will be
Mm-hmm.
just a number there. So
Mm-hmm.
it's just a startup which I have started right now and hope to grow up soon. Well, in the students, and I would like to keep the teachers, as you said, low, less only. So now,
Mm-hmm.
what are the lessons that you learned in the start of your business which have been very instrumental in helping you grow and reach where you are right now?
Well, I was not really all that into record keeping. I wasn't into record keeping, when I first started out. So then I need to keep better records of my classes. I need to keep better records of my income. And I'm still not the best with keeping class records for income. But I have really improved on how I keep my records. I do it two ways. I do it in a Google on my Google Calendar, and then if you could see, I just have a regular paper calendar too that I just can't see because of the background, but I have a paper calendar. And so what I do is then like Sunday afternoon or Sunday evening or Monday morning, depending on how many classes I have on Monday, I sit down for like an hour or so and I write everything in my book and I write everything on my Google Calendar. And the Google Calendar then, of course, gives me a reminder a half hour before the lesson. So if I have my smartphone with me, I can, I get a little bing and, oh, I have a class. But most of the time, I do have a somewhat of a regular schedule. A few times, right now, I teach primarily to the Chinese market. And so it's kind of this in-between time. The children are done with school, but they're also starting up the summer lessons. So I have been adding a few lessons a little more sporadically during this part of time because of the vacation for the students.
Oh, so you and me, we both share something in common. I am also very bad at keeping records of the time.
And I found that that's very common. So it's good to have somebody at least to chat with, even if it's somebody in an online community, and get suggestions on how to be better at keeping records, because your records will really help you with your business as your business grows, to look back on, this is a good month, this was not a good month. June was a very slow month for me because, again, the school year had ended. And I generally have about 20 lessons a week, and I dropped down to 11. And then I was getting a little nervous about this, but then I picked up again now in July. So another thing that you need to realize when you keep records, you can see there's kind of a cycle to this industry, because we're based on teaching lessons, and there's a school year to follow. I don't know what the school year is in India. The school year in America is, generally speaking, from September until the end of May. And so, then in June, July, and August, families are on vacation. Especially in June, there's a lot of vacation going on. But then in July, the parents are saying, let's get our children back to doing some sort of learning. And in August too, so that they're ready for the next school year.
In India, actually, the academic session is from June to March. So they have holidays in April and May. So whenever the summer comes, I do have my business low here in India, but it's compensated by the students from the US. So currently I do have a students summer camp going on, only for maths there. And I'm very curious to know this. So do you work as a solopreneur, means you work alone, or there is a team associated with you?
It's just me. I manage a Facebook group of, now it's 26,000 people. And people, it's a lot of people. In just the past month, it's grown by about 1,000 people. I don't know why it grew so much in just 1 month, but what I do, I don't necessarily work with other people, but I'm always sharing about opportunities. I am sharing about, okay, here's a place that's open, here's somebody that needs a teacher. So even though I don't work with people, I kind of influence people. I mean, I don't have a partner per se or anything like that, but I do influence people by, sharing resources so that they see me as a trusted person. And my Facebook group is I think we run a pretty tight ship. We only have referral threads on Wednesdays. That's the only day, unless somebody asks about, what company can I work with. And so by keeping it really structured, then the people know this is not a gossip fest. This is not, and I always say, this is a no drama zone. And that helps us to see that this is a profession here. Online teaching is not just sitting in your pajamas, holding up a puppet. It's very professional. You have students, you have goals, you have people that have expectations on you. So my Facebook group that I run, I try to have that same sort of focus there. We're professionals here. Obviously we want to have fun with our teaching. Yet at the end of the day, we have someone that we are responsible to teach a great lesson to.
Yep. And I can say that you are a very influential person, because 26,000 is a lot of person, lot of people there. Influencing them and keeping them together, I don't know how you do it.
Oh, well, this week I didn't have, I just do a weekly post. I kind of have the same sort of topic. Monday with the mentors, Tuesday talk, Wednesday referral thread, Thursday thoughts, and then Friday is always on resources. And so it's you have to kind of have a little bit of a structure too. And this week has kind of been, I've had some kind of health issues and some family issues, so I didn't get my posts up this week, but that's okay. People will understand, they'll do their own chit chat back and forth because they know it's or they'll ask, does anyone know of a job here? And they ask that question a lot. That's probably the most common question. I'm looking for work. Can you help me out? And people generally are very helpful in that. Of course, there's a lot of referral threads. People get money to help people out too.
Can you please tell us the name of your group so that if any tutorpreneur is there, he can just join and get associated with your group as well?
Sure. There are two groups with the very same name. Mine is called Hired Online ESL Teachers with Job Reviews. So mine has like a summertime logo on the top. The other one, I don't even know what the other one. I guess a few years back, there was a spat between two men. And I just took over this group a few years ago. So I didn't start it, but there was a spat. So there's two identical groups, but both of them, I think the other Hired Online ESL Teachers with Job Reviews also has information for people. So
we can clear that out by giving a link to that group in the description.
Yeah, I don't see the chat pod. Do you have a chat pod? Oh, you do. Hold on.
You can send it to me after the interview.
Yeah, I'll do that. I'll send it to you after the interview. So
now, coming to the next question, do you think is there something called right time to start tutoring?
I guess the right time would be when you're done with your educational degree. I do think you need to have a solid educational degree. You have to know about learner theory. You have to know about how to manage a classroom. You have to know how to plan lessons. So for me, the right time would be when you are done with your education. Or if you're a really strong student, maybe you could start this process when you're at the very, very end of your educational journey. I find that people get frustrated because they don't understand how to be a teacher. And then if they're working for a company, even a small company, they're not doing things in a way that is kind of standard teacher practice. So you do, in my mind, you do have to have your educational very solid. And of course, there are people that, tutor all sorts of different subjects. You have to have a solid basis in your content area because that's what you're expected to do, teach somebody this content. So.
Yeah, and teach it the best possible way.
Definitely.
Now, what were some difficulties that you faced while starting or running your business?
Well, I think it was a lot of the difficulties depended on because I first started working for other people. I had to do my own taxes and things like that. But it was the expectations of what I should be as a teacher. Like I should rate every child or every student from a scale of 1 to 10. And this rating system was just so outlandishly odd to me because in American school system, we give a grade out, but we would never rate someone's personality, or we would never rate their, well, at least back when I first started teaching, they weren't rating teachers on scales. I mean, now it's very common, but that was the big thing I had to wrap my mind around, is that my teaching has some sort of evaluation associated with it. And so, in it was rather artificial, this first association, somebody else thought that this is how I should teach. So in the end, that was the thing I had to learn. Again, the customer service thing that I had to learn. So does that answer your question or not quite?
Yeah, a lot of it, mostly.
Mhm.
So,
Mhm.
it actually, when I am running a tutoring company, I think the rating system is very important for the company to keep track of the quality of the teachers teaching on the platform.
Mhm.
Because out of, as you said, 90,000 people working there. Now, if I am a student and I want to get the best possible tutor there, how am I going to
Mhm.
know?
Yeah. And it's hard because there's all this ranking system, the Google ranking system, and you're on the first page, and then everyone wants to have the teacher that's on the first page, or they sort by price, they sort which is the price, and everyone wants to have the best quality. And I think, yeah, quality assurance or that sort of term, that was an interesting term for me coming out of a traditional school setting where the proof there was the grade that the student got, not your personality so much. And now I think it's both, the personality and the academic progress that people learn. So that it was kind of interesting to me to combine that whole rating system, customer service system. And I think that people don't really realize that when they're coming into being an online tutor, or they have to realize that there's a bit of business sense, a bit of pleasing the end consumer. So that can be a learning curve for many people.
Yep. It surely is a learning curve. And I think few tutors can even take it personally. Oh, the student whom I am going to teach is going to rate me.
Yeah. And then you see, of course, I'm on Facebook a lot, and you see the drama of people like, oh, I got a 3 rating. How can this happen? And so people get really wrapped up into their self-esteem is based on these ratings. Well, that's not the truth. People can have a bad day. People can have a good day. You as a teaching professional need to take that critique, and you need to say, here's the way I can improve, as opposed to saying, oh, I can't believe they did this to me. And I see a lot of that. I can't believe they did this to me sort of attitude. It's just kind of water cooler talk, of course. Yet you have to get to the point where you say, oh, there is some valid point to what they have to say. And of course, we all can have a bad day too,
We all can have a bad day too. And I personally feel that the person who is rating that, he may be also having a bad day while rating us.
Yeah, yeah.
Or
And
there
I
may be
often
something. Yeah, please continue.
Oh, I often say, tomorrow's another day. That's what my mom used to say to me growing up. Tomorrow's another day. It'll be better the next day. So I don't take the ratings too personally. So,
It comes with experience. If
yeah, yes, it does.
if I
It
have been
does.
there, I would have taken it very personally. Sorry. I would have taken it very personally. Oh my god, I got a 3 rating. How can they do this to me? But now I
Mm-hmm.
have got so many sometimes rejections with no fault of mine. Even if I'm prepared well, I delivered the topic well.
Mm-hmm.
Not necessary that the person who is receiving the lesson is in his complete senses to rate us correctly.
That's true too. Oh, yeah.
So what were the reactions of your friends, means friends and colleagues and clients, when you started tutoring?
Well, they pretty much thought I was nuts. They really thought it was like, what are you doing? And it wasn't that so much. It was like, ugh, well, you're taking the easy way out. You're teaching online. And it was very, very condescending. It was very, very like, oh, yeah, right. You're one of those online teachers. And so I find it just so humorous that now, after I've been doing it for, 9 years, now I'm like this expert all of a sudden, just because of the pandemic and everyone started teaching online. And so the skills that I had built up and that I was continually building up over those years, those became so valuable, and it just flipped 180%. And so now when I say what I do, I'm an online teacher, they're like, oh, really? Oh, tell me more. But before it was like, oh, I don't want to hear about that. It was very, very dismissed as an occupation. And so it's been, I guess in a way, it has been a little bit curious that this job, which I have been doing for 9 years, has all of a sudden been, moved up into the rank of legitimate job. Before it was not a legitimate job. It was just like, oh, you're someone who sits at home in your pajamas. It's like, no, I'm not someone who sits at home in my pajamas. But I really feel that the marketing campaign to get teachers in the door has been so misleading. It's so misleading. The sit at home in your pajamas, or, teach on the beach. That's misleading, because of course you should have a relaxed place to teach, but you have to provide something. And so I find it curious too that all of a sudden I've come up in the world in my esteem. But I've been doing this for 9 years. But the first 8 years or so, it was like, what are you crazy doing here? What are you doing? And now that everyone had to do Zoom for about a year, or not everybody, but then they say, oh, wow. Then now it's like, tell me what you do. Before it was like, I don't want to hear what you do. I'll tell you what I do. But now it's tell me what you do and how do you do it. So.
Yep, it actually has been a very awesome journey for you. I don't want to hear about it and tell me what you do right now. But I'm still in the second stage only. In the first stage only. I don't want to hear about it. Not even my parents still think it's I'm not I'm not doing anything. I just sit in the house, and
Yeah.
they're like old school people. They only
Yeah.
think work can be done if you go out, work hard, and then come back. And
Mm-hmm.
they're just astonished. Like they see me always sitting and taking the class, and they always ask me, "Do people really pay you for this job?"
Yeah, they do. And I will tell you too, because I have run this Facebook group for 2 years now or whatever, I've looked a lot at job posts, and I do kind of know the average wage especially to the Chinese market. And now what I see though here in America, there are so many tutoring companies. The average wage was about $18 to $25 an hour. And so now I see tutoring companies that are paying their teachers $40 an hour, $65 an hour, $80 an hour. Of course, they want you to have kind of a specialized training. And there are just loads and loads and loads of jobs out there for people but then again, one person could apply for a job and they're one of 500, as opposed to even 2 years ago, applying for an online teaching job, you were probably one of 40 applicants. But it's just, it has so flipped. Our whole society has flipped that this working at home is a viable option. And yeah, I kind of understand what you're saying about people thinking that you don't really work because you just work at home. I think if they saw your pay coming in, if you snapped them a few shots of your PayPal account or however you get paid, then they might say, "Oh, you do get paid here." It's just, yes, it is. It's a mindset switch that that they need to
Yep.
understand that I'm earning money. I just don't have all the trappings. I actually didn't use my car. I haven't used my car much at all, and so we've had this car about 5 years and it has 60,000 miles on it. It's like unbelievable, because before, of course, I was driving back and forth to work every day, and now I have a very, very almost brand new car because I've been teaching online. So one of the curious things about it. So
That's actually awesome. So you said you tutor like around 20 lessons in a week?
yes. I start in the morning, not every day, but I usually get up at 4 a.m. and then I teach from 5 until 8:30 quite regularly. Those are my Chinese students. So then during the middle of the day, or around, right now, I have a student from Spain, so I teach her from 8:30 until 11. Excuse me, 8:30 until 10:30. We do 2-hour segment. She's working toward doing some like more academic nature, so she wants a longer lesson. Then during the middle of the day, I have a couple other students from the United States that I teach. And then toward the end of the day, I teach like 3 days a week. I teach in the evenings from 5 until 7. It's not the most ideal scheduling, and I love to move it all up so it's daytime hours. But part of working online is that you have international students, so you have to understand time zones, and you have to work when they have the need to have lessons. The ones that I do during the daytime, they will probably fall off then once the school year begins, because I'm helping them through the summer. But then I do have around 20 hours a week. And I do have, I guess for me, it's a acceptable wage, what I earn per hour. Some people pay me more, some people pay me less, but I have an average hourly income that I think is very acceptable. I wouldn't be able to live on it entirely unless I lived very modestly, but my husband also has a full-time job, so I think it's a pretty good income for the time I put in. So
Yep. And surely the students will increase. When they increase, if you want, you can just increase it hourly. Like an hour you teach, it increases. One more hour you add into your schedule, the income increases. It's like the number of hours we put in. Now, sometimes I tutor around 10 hours or 12 hours a day because I'm pretty young right now, and I can take it right now because I have taken this as my full-time career. I just graduated like 3 to 4 years back, and it has been an awesome journey. Like I also started like being a home tutor. I worked as a home tutor before. Then when the COVID hit, I had nothing to do, literally. So I moved on from offline to online, and I would tell, as you say, we have to learn a lot of things. Learning how to even start an online meeting was a very big thing for me. Even though I was a graduate, I was not knowing these things. So it has been it's actually a very learning process, we can say, the tutoring whole. Now,
Yes.
shall we go on to the next question?
Sure, go ahead.
So, have you made any mistakes that you regret in this journey?
I don't know that I regret them. I guess they have kind of made me reconsider things. I think that I recruited for some companies, and I found out that they were really awful companies. They treated their teachers poorly. And then I felt a great deal of guilt that the people that I had recruited for, and one of the companies, it just dissolved. it lasted about, I don't know, 7-8 months, and then it just dissolved. So I felt a great deal of kind of embarrassment that I connected people to this job, and then the job just fell apart because the company was not reputable. And I think maybe they had good intentions, but their plan was not sustainable. And so that was one of the things that I felt remorse, maybe disappointment in myself, that I kind of believed this company would follow through, and they just closed their doors. And that can be the case with a lot of these online companies. They just don't get the students in the door that they need, or maybe their students aren't paying them. There's probably 1,000 reasons why a company will fail. So that was one of the things that I kind of realized. My reputation is on the line. If I recruit for another company, then people are upset with me if they lose their job. So I don't really recruit per se. I mean, occasionally I just say, this company is hiring, and the company gives me a couple bucks, $25 or something, to bring but really all I do is collect resumes. And so I've tried very, very hard only to recruit for companies that are going to be good to their teachers and be honest with their teachers. Because otherwise you have a lot of people that face a great deal of disappointment, and an income stream for them is disrupted because they trusted you. So that was something I learned, I guess.
Yep. So there is something that people can learn from this for sure. Did you ever feel like giving up?
Oh, I suppose when you have to get up at 4 a.m, 6 days a week, you're thinking, yeah, I'd rather sleep in. So there are a few days when, getting up so early is quite tricky, because now we have this daylight savings time thing, so our time changes an hour ahead, an hour back, twice a year. Like, this is kind of annoying. So then I had to get up at 3 a.m. So that was pretty difficult. Now I've decided, I said, okay, I just cannot work that really early shift when we have our time change. So I did kind of have to rethink. I didn't necessarily give up, but I had to rethink my number of hours I work once the time zone changes. So when the time zone, usually you can work like 15 hours that are called peak hours probably in most other cultures too. I'm just working with the Chinese culture too. But there's just a certain number of hours that children are available for lessons, or adults are available for lessons because of work or school or other activities. And so you have to kind of understand where those hours are and how they fit into your schedule. And can you really get up that early? Can you stay awake that late? And after a while, you say, no, it's not worth my health. And so maybe you take a little drop in income, or you find a job that pays more per hour. So,
Yep, it's here also we share something in common. It's very difficult to wake up early in the morning. And it was like, now I'm tutoring till 2 a.m. in the night. So for this month and the next month I think I'll be having that schedule. But as it is the starting of my company, I need to keep few things running. So I can take it for now, but of course I cannot take it for always. And the time shifting thing which you said in US. So initially I was having a class like 5:30 in the morning. That too, I used to wake up like, no, I don't know how to do this class. Shall I reschedule it? No.
Yeah. Oh, please.
No, not today. I just sleep 3 in the morning.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very difficult, and you have to realize that there needs to be a balance in your life. You cannot just do this 24/7. You have to sleep, you have to spend time with your family, you have to cook, you have to do laundry. There's certain things you have to do in life. So you have to say to yourself, either I cut out something in my own life, or I add more money. And there really is only two options. There's only two options. So for me, it was to find a company that paid a bit more per hour that really helped me to kind of be able to cut back on those really early morning hours and then just to say, and the one company I've worked with almost 3 years, it'll be 3 years in November, and they're pretty understanding, of me, saying, okay, now we're coming up on the time change and I'll just work a fewer hours, so, but it's a very complicated business in many ways. There's so many factors to consider, so.
That's true. So how, according to you, how difficult is scaling up in this particular business?
Well, I think for me, it'd be really difficult because, again, I'm not a terribly analytical person. I am more creative. So I love planning lessons. The little background behind me I made all this kind of stuff. I love that kind of stuff, but the business side of things, I think would be very difficult for me, from my personality. So for me, it would be difficult to scale up because there'd be so many moving pieces. Because, I'd have to find another teacher and I'd have to help funnel students to them, or find another 2 or 3 teachers. And you'd have to have a very, very robust marketing campaign going first before you could scale up, because you have to get your students in the door so that you can have the teacher to teach them. And what I see so often in this industry is the company gets the teacher in the door, but not the students in the door. And then that's just a disappointment, because then the teacher has nobody to teach, and then they just move on. People are not patient. They're not patient. They kind of expect things instantaneously. So it's incredibly challenging to get the teacher and the student at the same time. And it's a lot of working back and forth. I have WeChat for my Chinese students, and oh, there's a WeChat message, I got to answer that. And then I have to go to my calendar, and it's a lot of, and I'm sure there are tools that make it easier. There's some scheduling tools that would make it very easy. On the other hand, it is a bit of negotiation. I think you have to realize that. So scaling up for me would not be something that I'd want to try, because I think I would fail miserably at it. And I do have someone who helps me. I have a small business. In America, we have the Small Business Association. And so I have a small business mentor who helps me, but I don't think she'd recommend that I would try to scale up. She kind of she knows my personality. So I don't think she'd recommend that, because I'm not terribly good with follow through. It'd be like, oh, I have to follow through with this customer. I have to follow through with this teacher. So it's not going to be something that I would want to try, not at this point in time.
Yep. So just a question, where do you plan, what are your plans for the next 3 to 5 years, coming 5 years? Or it's just happy-go-lucky, whatever is coming, I'll just go on doing that?
It's a little bit more of the happy-go-lucky. I have, if quite frankly, sometimes people just approach me. I suppose that's because I run a Facebook group, and I don't want to say an internet personality, because I'm not that, but I have a presence because I've been running this Facebook group for 2 years. Well, I've been part of it for probably 5 years and running it for 2 years. So people reach out to me, and I've had people reach out to me on LinkedIn too, because I keep my LinkedIn profile pretty robust. I don't necessarily post, but people can see that I have a bachelor's degree, I have a master's degree, I have an English as a second language degree. And so that's how I found this, the fellow reached out to me. And I work for this company called Stanford High Academy, and I worked for them for about a little over a year now. And they reached out to me, and then just recently, a gal reached out to me on Facebook to have private lessons, and that's because she's part of my group. So I think for myself to kind of to scale up, I would just need to put out that I'm open for lessons during these times, and because there's a lot of people on my group. And it's all a numbers game, Vivek. It's just a numbers game. During any certain day, there is a person who has money and who has time and who needs the lesson. And it is kind of, for me, it's kind of not exactly happy-go-lucky, because I'm a person of faith, so I pray and things like that. And I think I have people praying for me, so that's helpful. Because I really wasn't advertising that I needed more students for July. And this gal just approached me, and I did apply for another job. I did. And they did hire me. So, and then that person has started to feed me students too. So, so part of it is reaching out, and some of it's just being there. And I have a friend who says the world is run by those who show up. And I think that is just the message I'd like to leave with people. Show up. Show up. If you show up for a lesson, you teach a quality lesson, you are aware of what the student needs, and you kind of, flex and bend and, see what the student needs, and you teach that next lesson. There are so many people that just do not show up. It's very, very true. It's sad, but when you show up, you are like 100% ahead of the other people. And then you continue to show up, and you continue to work on honing your craft. One of the things that I have done is I've learned this program called Book Widgets, which allows you to make interactive digital like tests and quizzes and things like that. And I've learned Canva so that I can make, pretty digital backgrounds and worksheets and things like that. So you have to be learning things, and you have to show up. And I think if you have those things in mind, to be ever learning and to show up, then your business is going to grow, because there are so many people that don't have that mindset. And then, to be around other people that can help you out too.
That's actually a very awesome and noble thought said by you. Now, I wanted to know, what is something that you'd like to tell a person who is just starting up? Because I had too many difficulties starting up. What is something that you would like to tell a person?
Well, I think I would tell you that your camera, people don't notice this, but your camera is your best teaching tool. So you have to learn not necessarily how to look beautiful on camera, but look engaging on camera. You have to have lights. You have to have at least, it doesn't have to be a background that's so busy like this one, but you have to have something that shows a warm and welcoming presence, because this is where we are. We're you and me, we're on a camera. And, I'm in a basic room that's kind of pretty and everything like that, but you're not going to see that. You're just going to see me, and you're going to see what's on my screen. So you really, really have to learn that camera presence first. And that makes your lesson very, very engaging. If you understand, I know it seems like vanity or something like that, but you need to look appealing on camera. Obviously, we're all, some of us are gorgeous and some of us are plain and everything like that, but you have to look appealing on camera, and that's pretty easy to do with a light ring or overhead lights, and some of it's a little bit of money you need to invest early on. And a good webcam, things like that. I would say those things to realize that the camera is your most important teaching tool, and then work with that. It's an inanimate object. It's not like a person, but you can, you work with your camera, and then your sound too. You have to have good sound. You have to have a good headset. And so.
Yep. Actually,
so those are
whenever you are advising, I just thinking I should have on my ring light today.
Yeah, turn it on. Shall
I turn it on? Just give me a minute.
Yes, turn it on. You'll see what a difference it makes. It makes a big difference.
It does make a difference, but
that's good. And there is a little bit of an investment that you need to make. You should have a high-speed computer, because you're teaching people. I mean, for me, I'm teaching people around the world. So I need to have a pretty good computer. And that's my next expense. For my business expense, I'm going to get a better computer. I just have a refurbished one right now, but that's one of my business goals, is to get a better computer and everything.
It will be completed. I hope, and I will pray for God for you, for you, and it happens soon than your expectations.
Yeah, I want to get one with a really big screen, because I want to be able to. A lot of times I do feedback for children. I type up what's happening in the lesson, and so I want to have one that has a two screens so that I can do feedback on one and talk to them on the other. And you'll also learn to be very good at multitasking once you become proficient. Well, actually, even if you're not proficient, you'll be good at multitasking too. So.
Yep. Well, I do have a green screen with me.
Yes, I see that. Yeah. And you can switch it out. That's a lot of fun to switch it out and different things like that.
But I'm not as creative as you are. I just hire people to do that thing.
Yeah, well, there you go. There's a lot of people around the world too that can help you.
Yep.
I'm here in the United States, you're in India. We connected through another person that lives in the United States. And so just reach out. I did have a virtual assistant, and I was paying her what she thought was a good wage, and to me was a good wage. And she helped me a lot with a lot of things too. So, find someone on Upwork or whatever it might be, your, I guess, I don't even know what those are called, a gig system, and, have someone do it for you, because it can be very inexpensive for you, and but it adds to how things you are perceived in the first impression. So
that's true. Well, I'm sitting right now in my office where all the employees come and sit and work here. So if some student or some tutor wants to connect with you, can you please let us know how they can connect to you?
Sure, you could just email me, I guess. I can put my email in here.
Can you just spell it once, and you can send it to me after that? I'm just going to put that into description. So if someone misses it, they can just click the link and get in touch with you.
Sure. So it's Jody, Jody, at connecting, CONNECTING, point, POINT, recruiting, RECRUITING.com. I'm sorry, it's such a long one.
Yep.
Yeah, I'll put it in here. Yeah.
So I will yes.
Yeah. I will also, or the Facebook group that I manage, the Hired Online, you can message me on the Facebook group too. I'm on WeChat as well. People have WeChat. I'm online English Jody B, like English Jody B on WeChat. So that's kind of easy for a lot of people if they have WeChat.
For sure. Now what I'm going to do is I will just put all the details in the description of the YouTube link down below.
Okay.
And whoever wants to get in touch with you, they'll just click the link, and Jody, ting ting, they'll get in touch.
Yeah. And I have taught some group lessons too. One of the things, because I do have the master's degree in instructional design and technology, I like to create lessons. So I've created a set of 40 lessons with early reading books, and they have games, and they have what do you want to call it? Games and stories and reading. And, I've done those for 2.5 years. So I could do a group lesson. There's a lot of markets out there. People shouldn't be afraid. There's a lot of interesting ways people can pay for lessons. I know that the student that I have from Spain, she has like this, I guess you'd call it a pot of money that she gets for training. So, sometimes there's agencies that will pay for training. So you need to kind of figure out where those agencies are, and maybe they can connect you up with some students too. There's plenty of other tutoring platforms that you can be a tutor on as well. because sometimes it's a little tricky to get everybody to come to your site right away. So sometimes you can go through a secondary site, like in America, we have one called Ant, or what's the other one? Preply. Preply is a worldwide one. And so I found some students from Preply. I found some students from Ant. I found some students on my own. So a little of all.
I wish I had more time to talk with you, but
That's fine.
we had a short on time, and it really was very knowledgeable, and I learned a lot of things from you, Jody. So
Yeah.
thank you so much for being as
Sure.
the host, and I would surely invite you again when you buy your new laptop.
Yeah. That's good. I'll have to, I don't know how soon that will be. I need to get out and shop for one. So that's my thing. You get kind of comfortable being at home, so sometimes it's a little hard to get out and do stuff. But yeah.
Yep.
Well, thank you for inviting me, Vivek. It was fun. It was a lot of fun.
Yep. Same here, Jody. We'll invite you again. Thank you so much.
Yes. Okay. All right. Bye-bye.